The afternoon sun painted the walls of the small apartment in suburban Chicago golden, where Emily finished organizing the last details of her daughter Lily's birthday party. At 7 years old, the girl was her greatest joy, the reason for all. Her daily efforts as a public school teacher. As she arranged colorful balloons around the modest but cozy living room, Emily smiled, thinking about the sparkle she would see in her daughter's eyes when she returned from school. The intercom rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was probably Mrs. Johnson, the neighbor who had promised to bring the frosted cake. But the deep, authoritative voice on the other end of the line made her heart race. "Mrs. Emily Thompson, this is Robert Maxwell. We need to talk about Lily." The name made Emily freeze. Robert Maxwell was one of the most influential businessmen in the country, owner of one of the largest construction companies in the United States. His face was constantly in business magazines and news reports. What could he want with her? "There must be some mistake," she responded, trying to keep her voice steady. "There's no mistake. I'm getting out of the car and coming up. Apartment 302, correct?" Before Emily could answer, the communication was cut off. Her hands trembled as she tried to process what was happening. How did he know where she lived? Why did he mention Lily? Thousands of questions raced through her mind when firm knocks sounded at the door. Upon opening it, Emily felt the air leave her lungs. Robert Maxwell was even more imposing in person than in photos. Tall, wearing an impeccable suit, his penetrating blue eyes analyzed her with a mixture of curiosity and determination. "May I come in?" The question sounded more like a statement, and Emily found herself automatically giving way. Robert examined the environment, his gaze lingering on the birthday decorations scattered around the room. A shadow of emotion passed over his face, quickly replaced by a serious expression. "Lily has her birthday today," he said, not as a question but as a painful observation. "How do you know that? What's going on?" Emily finally found her voice, crossing her arms in a defensive posture. Robert took an envelope from his jacket and extended it to her. 7 years and 9 months ago, I had a relationship with Sarah Miller. She worked as an executive secretary in my company. It ended abruptly when she resigned and disappeared without a trace. The name made Emily turn pale. Sarah was her older sister, who had passed away 2 years ago in a car accident. Robert's next words hit her like a punch. "Lily is my daughter, Emily, and I've come to claim what is rightfully mine." Emily felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. Her sister's words on her hospital bed echoed in her mind. "Take care of her as if she were your own, Emily. Promise me you'll never let anyone take her from you." "You're mistaken," she replied, her voice trembling. "Lily is my daughter." Robert took a step forward, his eyes flashing. "Don't lie to me. I have proof, Emily. Sarah deceived me, prevented me from knowing my own daughter for years, but now I know everything and I won't allow this to continue." The sound of children's laughter in the hallway made them both freeze. Lily was coming home from school. Emily felt panic growing in her chest, while Robert turned to the door, an expectant expression on his face. "Please," Emily whispered, "not today. It's her birthday." For a moment, something resembling compassion passed through Robert's eyes. He adjusted his jacket and walked towards the door. "You have 24 hours to contact me and tell the truth, Emily. After that, my lawyers will be in touch. And believe me, I never lose a battle." When the door closed behind him, Emily collapsed on the sofa, tears finally escaping. The envelope Robert had left weighed in her hands like lead. Through the window, she saw the businessman enter his black BMW just as Lily burst through the door, radiant in her school uniform. "Mommy, look how many cards I got from my friends." Emily forced a smile, hugging her daughter tightly. How could she explain that the world they knew was about to crumble? How would she protect Lily from the approaching storm? On the coffee table, the envelope left by Robert seemed to pulse, holding secrets that once revealed would change their lives forever. That night, after Lily finally fell asleep surrounded by her new presents, Emily allowed herself to open the envelope left by Robert. Her hands trembled as she spread the documents on the kitchen table. Old photos of Sarah with Robert, company, entry and exit records, printed emails, and most disturbingly, results of a private investigation that traced her sister's entire history over the past 8 years. Emily found herself diving into memories she had long tried to keep buried. Sarah had always been the impetuous sister, determined to conquer the world, while Emily preferred the simplicity of her life as a teacher. When Sarah appeared at her door on that rainy night, pregnant and desperate, Emily didn't hesitate to take her in. "You don't understand, Emily," Sarah had said through tears. "Some people are too powerful. They have too much influence. I can't let them find my baby." At the time, Emily assumed her sister was being paranoid, perhaps affected by pregnancy hormones. Now, looking at the photos of Sarah next to Robert Maxwell at social events, she began to understand the magnitude of what her sister was facing. The phone rang, startling her. It was almost midnight. "Emily." The voice of Mark, her best friend and small claims lawyer, sounded worried. "I just received a very strange call from the Maxwell and Associates office. What's going on?" "Mark, I need your help," she whispered, trying not to wake Lily. "It's about Lily's custody." There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. "Emily, are you telling me that Robert Maxwell is claiming custody of Lily? He showed up here today, Mark. He knows everything about Sarah, about the pregnancy. He has proof. My God, Emily, you're dealing with one of the most powerful men in the country. He has an army of lawyers at his disposal." "But he's wrong," Emily protested, her voice breaking. "Lily is my daughter. I have all the documents. Sarah gave me legal custody before she passed away. Documents that can be questioned if he proves he was deceived and prevented from exercising his rights as a father," Mark responded gently. "Emily, we need to be strategic here." A noise from Lily's room made Emily freeze. When she checked, she found the girl sleeping peacefully, hugging the new teddy bear she had received as a gift. Her dark curls spread across the pillow reminded her so much of Sarah that it hurt. Back in the kitchen, Emily continued her conversation with Mark, more determined. "I can't lose her, Mark. I promised Sarah I would protect Lily." "There's something you're not telling me, isn't there?" Mark asked after a moment. "Something about why Sarah ran away." Emily closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the secret she had carried for so many years. "Sarah discovered something, Mark. Something big involving Maxwell Construction. She never told me exactly what it was, but she said it was big enough to destroy many powerful people. And you think Robert found out about this?" "I don't know, but why now, after so long? Sarah has been gone for 2 years. Why didn't he come before?" An envelope fell from the pile of documents, revealing more photos. Emily picked them up and felt her heart stop. They were recent photos of Lily at school, in the park, leaving ballet class. Robert had been watching his daughter for much longer than she had imagined. "Mark," she whispered, "I think there are more people interested in this story. In the past few weeks I've noticed a black car parked on the corner. I thought it was a coincidence, but don't do anything until I get there tomorrow." Mark interrupted her. "And Emily, be careful what you say on the phone." After hanging up, Emily returned to Lily's room. She sat on the edge of the bed watching her daughter sleep. On the nightstand, a smiling photo of Sarah seemed to be watching her, as if wanting to say something. "What did you discover, Sarah?" Emily whispered to the photo. "Why did you really run away?" The night wind rustled the curtains, bringing with it the distant sound of a car starting. Emily approached the window in time to see a black BMW slowly driving away. Her heart raced as she realized it wasn't Robert's car. The next morning dawned, cloudy, reflecting Emily's state of mind. After a sleepless night, she took Lily to school as usual, trying to maintain normalcy. At every corner, her eyes searched for suspicious black cars, but the streets seemed strangely empty that morning. "Mommy, you're different today," Lily commented as they walked hand in hand. "Is it because of that man who came yesterday?" Emily almost tripped. "What man, sweetie?" "I saw him leaving the building when I was arriving. He looked sad." Lily squeezed her mother's hand. "He also looked at me in a weird way." Before Emily could respond, they arrived at the school gates. Lily hugged her tightly and ran to meet her friends, her concern already forgotten with the typical ease of childhood. Emily stood watching until her daughter disappeared into the courtyard, feeling a tightness in her chest. On the way to Mark's office, her cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Mrs. Thompson, this is Jennifer Fields from Mr. Robert Maxwell's secretary's office." The voice was professional and distant. Mr. Maxwell would like to schedule a meeting with you today at 10 a.m. at his office. Emily took a deep breath. Tell Mr. Maxwell that I will only speak with him in the presence of my lawyer. There was a pause on the other end. Mr. Maxwell anticipated you would say that. He agreed to receive your lawyer as well. A car will be sent to pick you up. At Mark's office, a small room in the city center, her friend was already waiting with a worried expression. Various files were spread across his desk. I spent the night researching, he said, dispensing with greetings. Emily, this is much bigger than we imagined. Maxwell Construction is involved in a massive corporate scandal. The company's stocks have plummeted in recent weeks. What does this have to do with Lily? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Mark picked up a newspaper. Look at the date Sarah left the company, 3 days after an important board meeting. And guess who else resigned in the same period? The company's financial director. Emily felt a chill. Sarah worked directly with him. Exactly, and this financial director completely disappeared. No one knows his whereabouts. The office. Intercom rang. Robert's car had arrived. The headquarters of Maxwell Construction was an impressive mirrored building in the heart of Chicago's financial district. On the 30th floor, Robert awaited them in a meeting room with a panoramic view of the city. Next to him, an older man with graying hair observed them with interest. Emily, Mr. Parker, thank you for coming. Robert gestured for them to sit. This is Victor Hawkins, chairman of the company's board. Victor smiled, but his eyes remained cold. Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I'd like to make it clear that the company has a great interest in resolving this situation in the most discreet manner possible. What situation exactly? Mark questioned. The dispute over Lily's custody or the scandal affecting the company's stocks? Robert leaned forward, ignoring Victor's warning look. Emily, I didn't come here to fight. I want to meet my daughter, be part of her life. I have that right. And why now? Emily finally found her voice. Why after so long? Because I only just discovered the truth. Someone... Robert cast a significant look at Victor. Kept information from me for years. But that's over now. Victor cleared his throat. If I may, I have a proposal that might interest everyone. Mrs. Thompson could maintain custody of the girl, with monitored visits from Mr. Maxwell, in exchange for her discretion about certain matters. What matters? Emily asked, feeling her heart race. The same ones your sister Sarah discovered, Victor responded smoothly. The same ones that made her run away. Robert slammed his hand on the table forcefully, making everyone jump. Enough games, Victor. What do you know about Sarah? But before Victor could answer, the door to the room opened. An elegant woman entered, her heels echoing on the marble floor. Emily instantly recognized her from old photos. It was Olivia Carter, Robert's ex-wife and current vice president of the company. Sorry to interrupt, she said with a calculated smile, but I think I have some information that everyone here needs to hear, especially you, Robert. Olivia Carter walked across the room with the confidence of someone who knew this territory well. Her eyes lingered on Emily for a moment, analyzing her with an almost feline curiosity before turning to Robert. I always knew this day would come, she began, sitting at the table. Sarah Miller wasn't just your secretary, Robert. She was much smarter than any of us imagined. Victor shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Olivia, I don't think this is the moment. The moment is exactly now, she cut him off. I'm tired of watching you manipulate this situation, Victor. For years you've kept Robert too busy, too distracted to ask the right questions. But now it's different. Now there's a child involved. Emily observed the interaction with growing apprehension. The way Olivia spoke, as if she knew all the details of a story that even Emily didn't fully understand, made her uneasy. Sarah discovered the irregularities in the bids, didn't she? Olivia continued. The embezzlement, the inflated contracts, everything passed through her desk, and then she started to keep evidence. Robert stood up abruptly. What are you talking about? What evidence? The same ones you've been looking for weeks, Victor. Olivia smiled, pulling a flash drive from her pocket. Sarah was smarter than you thought. She didn't keep the evidence with her. She divided it and hid it in different places. Emily felt her blood run cold. She remembered a box that Sarah had left at her house, asking her to only open it if something happened to her. The box that was still stored in the back of her closet, untouched. "Why are you revealing this now?" Victor asked, his face losing color. "Because I'm tired of this game," Olivia answered. "Robert deserves to know the truth. Sarah didn't run away from him. She ran away from you, Victor. She ran because she discovered that you were embezzling millions in ghost contracts, using the company as a facade for a much larger scheme." Robert looked stunned. "Olivia, are you sure about this?" "I have the evidence right here." She held up the flash drive. "Sarah came to me before she disappeared. She knew I would never approve of what was happening in the company, but she also knew she needed to protect the child she was expecting." Emily finally found her voice. "So that's why she insisted so much that I keep custody of Lily. She was trying to protect her from all this?" "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. Sarah knew Victor would never give up on the evidence she had. She also knew that if Robert found out about the pregnancy, Victor would use the child as a form of pressure. Mark, who had been observing silently until then, leaned forward. "And now, what has changed?" "Everything has changed," Olivia answered. "The investigation that the FBI is conducting is about to go public. Victor is losing the control he had over the board. And more importantly, Robert finally discovered about Lily." Victor stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "This is ridiculous. You have no proof of anything." "Actually, we do," a new voice sounded from the door. A middle-aged man entered the room, followed by 2 police officers. "I'm Agent Thompson from the FBI, and we have a lot to talk about, Mr. Hawkins." Chaos broke out in the room. Victor tried to reach for his cell phone but was stopped by the officers. Robert remained in shock, alternating glances between Olivia and Emily. In the midst of the confusion, Emily felt her cell phone vibrate. It was Lily's school. "Mrs. Thompson, there was an incident with Lily. Could you come to the school immediately?" Panic took over Emily. "What happened?" "A woman tried to pick up Lily, claiming to be a relative. When we prevented her, she became quite agitated. Lily is fine, but she's scared." Emily jumped up, drawing everyone's attention. "Someone tried to take my daughter from school." Robert turned pale. "Who?" "A woman who said she was her relative," Emily replied, already heading for the door. Olivia exchanged a significant look with Robert. "Emily, wait. I think I know who it might be. And if I'm right, Lily might be in more danger than we imagined." The journey to the school was tense. Emily was in the back seat of Robert's car, which had insisted on taking her personally, while Olivia accompanied them in the front seat. Agent Thompson had stayed at the company, conducting Victor's interrogation. "The woman who tried to pick up Lily," Olivia broke the silence, "is probably Barbara Hawkins, Victor's wife. She's always been unstable." "Why would she do that?" Emily asked, her heart still racing. "Because she knows Victor's world is crumbling," Robert replied, his eyes fixed on the road. "And Lily is the only card they have left to try to negotiate." Emily felt a shiver. "What do you mean?" "Victor and Barbara can't have children," Olivia explained. "When Sarah got pregnant, Barbara became obsessed. She started following her, making veiled threats. It was one of the reasons that led Sarah to run away." The car stopped in front of the school. In the courtyard, Lily was sitting next to the principal, hugging her favorite teddy bear. Upon seeing Emily, she ran in her direction. "Mommy, that mean lady wanted to take me away. She said she was my aunt, but I don't know her." Emily hugged, her daughter tightly, feeling tears escape. It was then that Lily noticed Robert, who was observing the scene a few steps away. "It's the gentleman from yesterday," Lily said, surprising everyone. "The one who was sad." Robert took a step forward, hesitant. Emily could see the emotion in his eyes as he was so close to his daughter for the first time. "Hi, Lily," he said softly. "I'm a friend of your mom's." The principal approached, concerned. "Mrs. Thompson, we need to file a police report. The woman was very agitated. She even tried to force her way into the school." "I've already taken care of that," Olivia intervened, showing a badge. "I'm a private investigator working with the FBI on this case. We need to take Lily and Mrs. Thompson to a safe place immediately." Emily looked at Olivia, surprised by the revelation. Robert's ex-wife wasn't just an executive, she had been part of the investigation from the beginning. "My beach house," Robert suggested. "It's isolated, secure, and no one but Olivia knows of its existence. I can send someone to get some clothes from your apartment." Emily hesitated. Trusting Robert and Olivia meant diving even deeper into this complex plot. But looking at Lily, so scared and vulnerable, she realized she had no choice. "All right," she agreed, "but first I need to stop by home. There's something you need to see." At the apartment, while Lily was in the room with Olivia, choosing some clothes, Emily led Robert to her wardrobe. In the back, behind several boxes, was an old trunk. "Sarah gave me this before she left," Emily explained, her voice trembling. "She said I should only open it if something happened to her." Robert helped her pull out the trunk. Inside were folders, documents, and an old laptop. But what caught their attention was a thick envelope with Lily's name on it. "She planned everything," Emily whispered, holding the envelope. "Sarah knew this day would come." Before they could open the envelope, they heard a noise coming from the living room. Olivia appeared at the bedroom door, tense. "We need to go now," she said urgently. "Barbara was seen in the neighborhood, and she's not alone." Emily quickly put the envelope in her bag while Robert grabbed the trunk. On the way to the car, Lily held her mother's hand tightly. "Mommy," she whispered, "why does that man look so much like me?" The question caught Emily by surprise. She looked at Robert, who had also heard and seemed emotional. It was true. The same blue eyes, the same face shape. How had she not noticed before? "Lily, sweetie," Emily began, feeling that the moment she had feared so much had arrived. "There's a lot we need to talk about. But first, let's go somewhere. Safe, okay?" As the car drove away from the city, Emily watched through the rearview mirror as familiar streets disappeared. Next to her, Lily had fallen asleep, her head resting on her shoulder. In the front seat, Robert and Olivia were talking in low voices, making plans. Sarah's envelope weighed in her bag like lead. What secrets did it hold? And more importantly, was she ready for the truths it would reveal? The sun was already setting when they arrived at Robert's beach house, a modern and discreet construction surrounded by dense vegetation that isolated it from neighboring properties. The sound of waves was the only background music as they unloaded the luggage from the car. Lily, who had slept for most of the journey, woke up marveling at the view of the sea. "Mommy, can we go to the beach?" "Tomorrow, sweetie," Emily promised, exchanging a significant look with Robert. "Now we need to settle in." Olivia did a complete sweep of the house before allowing them to enter. Her professional and cautious behavior only confirmed her true role in this story. She wasn't just an executive, but someone who had been investigating the case for years. "The house is secure," she finally announced. "I've installed monitoring systems and alerts. I'll need to leave for a few hours to coordinate the security team, but I'll be back tonight." When Olivia left, an uncomfortable silence settled in. Robert seemed lost, alternating glances between Lily, who was animatedly exploring the house, and Emily, who remained tense. "There's a room prepared for you upstairs," he finally said. "Actually, I always kept this place ready, hoping that one day you would find your daughter," Emily completed softly. Robert nodded, emotional. "I never believed that Sarah had simply disappeared. There was something wrong, I could feel it. But Victor, he always had an explanation, always had a way to keep me focused on other matters." In the kitchen, Lily had discovered a large cookie. Jarton was looking hopefully at Emily, who nodded with a small smile. It was surreal to see how her daughter seemed so at ease in this strange environment, as if something inside her recognized this place, these people. "We need to open the envelope," Emily said after Lily went upstairs to explore her new room. "But first you need to promise me something, Robert." "What?" "Promise that no matter what we discover, you'll think of Lily's well-being first. She's just a child who until yesterday had a normal life." Robert approached, his intense eyes fixed on hers. "Emily, you protected and loved my daughter when I couldn't. I'll never forget that. I promise we'll do this together, always thinking of her first." With trembling hands, Emily opened the envelope. Inside was a letter addressed to Robert, another to Emily, and a third, smaller one with the words, "For Lily. Open only when you turn 18. There was also a flash drive and several photos. Sarah's letter to Emily began with words that made her heart ache. "Dear sister, if you're reading this, it means my suspicions were right. Victor Hawkins isn't just corrupt. He's obsessed with power and control. His wife Barbara can't have children, and when she discovered my pregnancy, she started stalking me. But that wasn't the only thing that made me run." Robert read his own letter in silence, his face growing increasingly pale. "My God," he whispered. "Sarah tried to tell me. The last time we saw each other, she tried to warn me about Victor. But I was so blind." A noise from upstairs interrupted them. Lily was running down the stairs, holding something in her hands. "Look what I found in my room," she exclaimed, showing a small music box. "It has a ballerina that dances." Robert froze. "That box, it was my mother's. I kept it here years ago, hoping one day to—" "Give it to your daughter?" Lily asked innocently, surprising everyone. "I heard you and Aunt Olivia talking in the car. You're my dad, aren't you?" The silence that followed was deafening. Emily felt tears running down her face as Robert knelt in front of Lily, visibly trembling. "Yes, Lily," he answered with a choked voice. "I'm your father." Lily looked at Emily, who nodded softly, and then back at Robert. With the wisdom that only children possess, she took 2 steps forward and hugged her father for the first time. The moment was interrupted by Robert's cell phone. It was Olivia. "You need to see this," she said, as soon as he answered on speakerphone. "I just decrypted the files on Sarah's flash drive. Victor wasn't just embezzling money, he was building a parallel empire. And there's something else. Barbara isn't who she says she is. She has a history with the Maxwell family that no one knew about, until now." Night was falling over the beach house when Olivia arrived, carrying a thick folder and a laptop. Lily had already fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted after the day's emotions, while Emily and Robert anxiously awaited the new discoveries. "Barbara Hawkins," Olivia began, spreading documents across the dining table, "was born Barbara Maxwell. She's your second cousin, Robert." Robert staggered, leaning on the table. "How? That's impossible. I would know it—" "Not necessarily," Olivia continued. "Your family has branches that even you don't know about. Barbara is the daughter of Michael Maxwell, your uncle, who was removed from the company 30 years ago. She changed her name and built a new identity." Emily observed the documents with growing concern. "Why did she do that?" "Revenge," Olivia answered simply. "Michael Maxwell was accused of embezzling money from the company, and your father Robert was the one who reported him. The entire family disowned him. Barbara was only 12 at the time." Robert ran his hands over his face, stunned. "So she approached Victor to destroy the company from the inside," Olivia completed. "Victor didn't know anything at first. She manipulated him, using her influence to gain access to confidential information. When Sarah started gathering evidence of corruption, Barbara realized her plan was at risk." Emily moved closer to the sleeping Lily, adjusting the blanket over her. "And when she discovered about the pregnancy, she saw an opportunity." Olivia nodded. "A Maxwell child, legitimate heir, that she could use as an instrument of revenge. Sarah realized the danger and fled." Robert abruptly stood up, walking to the window. The dark sea reflected the lights of the house, creating dancing shadows on the sand. "All this time," he murmured, "I was looking for answers in the wrong places. Sarah was trying to protect our daughter, not just from Victor, but from a revenge we didn't even know existed." Emily picked up Sarah's letter, rereading a specific passage. "Robert needs to know the truth, but I can't risk our daughter's life. Barbara isn't who she seems to be. There's darkness in her eyes when she talks about the Maxwells." Olivia turned on her laptop, opening a series of files. Sarah was smarter than we thought. She not only gathered evidence of corruption, but also discovered Barbara's true identity. She was putting it all together when she left us, Emily completed softly, avoiding more painful words. A movement on the stairs caught everyone's attention. Lily was there, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." Robert was the first to react, heading to the kitchen. He returned with a glass of water and a gentle smile that completely transformed his usually serious face. "Here you go, Princess." Lily accepted the glass, looking curiously at the scattered papers. "Are you talking about Aunt Sarah?" Emily and Robert exchanged worried looks. Lily continued, "I dream about her sometimes. She's always smiling and tells me I have my dad's eyes." Robert knelt beside his daughter, gently touching her face. "Your Aunt Sarah was a very brave and special woman." "Like Mommy," Lily said with conviction, making Emily swallow a sob. Olivia observed the scene with a mixture of emotion and concern. "Emily, Robert, there's more. The flash drive contains information about secret accounts, properties, the entire parallel empire that Barbara and Victor built using the company's money." "And what do we do now?" Emily asked, while guiding Lily back to the couch. "Tomorrow morning, Agent Thompson will come here," Olivia answered. "With this evidence, we can finally expose everything. But we need to be careful. Barbara is still out there, and now that she's lost Victor, she has nothing to lose." Robert approached Emily and Lily, his protective instinct finally awakened after years of involuntary absence. "I won't let anything happen to you. Never again." Emily observed father and daughter side by side, noticing for the first time how they shared the same gestures, the same way of furrowing their brow when worried. Fate had strange ways of correcting its paths. A distant thunder announced the arrival of a storm. On the beach, the waves were beginning to get more agitated, as if nature itself was responding to the tension of the moment. Olivia began organizing, the documents preparing for the next day's meeting, while Robert helped Lily settle back on the couch. "Dad?" Lily called sleepily, the word sounding natural on her lips for the first time. "Are you going to stay here with us?" Robert's smile lit up his entire face. "Always, my princess, always." The dawn brought with it a false sense of normalcy. Lily discovered a swing hanging from a tree near the veranda and convinced Robert to push her, her laughter echoing across the deserted beach. Emily observed the scene from the kitchen, preparing breakfast, trying to ignore the anxiety growing in her chest as the time for Agent Thompson's arrival approached. Olivia had spent the night organizing the evidence on her laptop, occasionally sharing disturbing discoveries about Barbara's past. "I found records of psychiatric hospitalizations," she commented in a low voice, showing old documents to Emily. After her father was removed from the company, Barbara developed an obsession with the Maxwell family. She planned this for years. Emily shuddered, remembering Barbara's disturbing look at the school. "How did she manage to hide all this for so long?" "Money and influence can buy a lot of silence," Olivia answered, closing the laptop. "But now we have everything documented. When the agent arrives..." A joyful scream from Lily interrupted the conversation. Robert had lifted her onto his shoulders, and she was excitedly pointing at something in the sea. "Look, Dad! Dolphins!" Emily couldn't help but smile at how naturally Lily had accepted Robert into her life. Her daughter had always had an extraordinary capacity to see the best in people, a quality she had inherited from Sarah. "She's amazing," Robert commented, entering the kitchen with Lily still on his shoulders. "How did you manage to raise her so well on your own, Emily?" "It wasn't alone," Emily responded softly. "Sarah was always present, even after she left us. And Lily, she has a special way of making everything seem easier." The moment was interrupted by the sound of a car approaching. Olivia immediately became alert, checking the security cameras she had installed. "It's the agent," she confirmed, visibly relaxing. "And he brought news." Agent Thompson entered accompanied by a young officer. His expression was serious, but there was a glimmer of triumph in his eyes. "Victor started talking," he announced, without preamble. "He's willing to turn over everything in exchange for protection. He's afraid of Barbara." Robert frowned. "Afraid? Of Barbara?" "Apparently she has more connections than we imagined," the agent explained, accepting the cup of coffee Emily offered. Victor revealed that she maintains contact with powerful people who were harmed by the Maxwell family over the years. She formed a kind of alliance. Lily, who was playing with her toys in the corner of the room, raised her head curiously. Emily noticed and quickly suggested, "Sweetie, why don't you show your new room to Officer Laura? I'm sure she'd love to see your seashell collection." Lily nodded enthusiastically, taking the young police officer's hand and pulling her upstairs. Only when she was sure her daughter was out of earshot did Emily turn her attention back to the conversation. "What kind of alliance?" she asked. "Ruined businessmen, fired ex-employees, estranged family members like her," Olivia answered, consulting her notes. Barbara transformed her desire for revenge into a common cause. She gained support, resources, and now they've lost Victor, Robert completed, understanding the gravity of the situation. "She's not going to simply give up, is she?" The agent shook his head. "We've already increased security at all critical points, but we need to act fast. Victor mentioned a meeting that will happen soon, with all those involved." Emily felt a chill. "And Lily? How can we ensure she'll be safe?" "That's why I came personally," the agent responded. "We need to transfer you to a more secure location. This house, as isolated as it is no longer adequate." Robert began to protest, but Olivia interrupted him. "He's right, Robert. Barbara knows your habits, your properties. We need a place she would never think to look." The sound of laughter came down the stairs. Lily and Officer Laura were returning. The girl was proudly carrying a photo album she had found in the room. "Look, Dad, I found photos of you when you were little." Robert took the album, surprised. "Where did you find this?" "It was in the dresser drawer," Lily answered, pointing to a particular photo. "Who's this lady with you?" Robert paled upon seeing the image. It was an old photo of him as a teenager, next to a young Barbara, both smiling at a family picnic. "It's her," he whispered. "How could I not have recognized her after all these years?" Emily approached, observing the photo. The Barbara in the image was almost unrecognizable. Her eyes still shone with innocence. Her smile was genuine. What could have happened to transform her so profoundly? Agent Thompson cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. "We need to leave in an hour. Take only the essentials." As everyone moved to pack their bags, Emily noticed Lily observing the sea through the window, her small hand pressed against the glass. "Is everything okay, sweetie?" Lily turned, her blue eyes so similar to Robert's, shining with wisdom beyond her years. "You know, Mommy, Aunt Sarah always said that after the storm comes the rainbow. Will there be a rainbow after this storm passes?" Emily hugged her daughter, feeling tears burn in her eyes. "Yes, my love, there will be." After hours of driving on winding roads, the convoy of 3 cars finally arrived at an isolated ranch in the Berkshires. The property, surrounded by dense pine forests, belonged to a special FBI protection program. The cool mountain air and constant mist created an almost surreal atmosphere. "Quite different from the beach, isn't it?" Robert commented, helping Lily out of the car. The girl looked in wonder at the wooden house with its large fireplace and panoramic windows. "It looks like a dollhouse," she exclaimed, running to explore the new environment. Emily watched her daughter with a tired smile. The last 24 hours had been exhausting, but Lily maintained her unshakable energy and optimism. Olivia approached, carrying her inseparable laptop. "I just received more information from Agent Thompson," she said in a low voice. "The investigation found something interesting in the company's old files. Apparently, Michael Maxwell, Barbara's father, wasn't the only one responsible for the embezzlement back then." Robert, who had joined them, furrowed his brow. "What do you mean?" "Your father, Robert. He may have used Michael as a scapegoat. The documents suggest there was a larger scheme, and your father needed someone to take the blame." Emily noticed. Robert turned pale. "My father, but he was always so upright." "In the public eye, yes," Olivia completed. "But Barbara knew the truth. That's why her revenge is so personal. It's not just about money or power. It's about justice from her point of view." A noise from the house interrupted the conversation. Lily had discovered an old piano in the living room and was experimenting with the keys, creating a disconnected melody that echoed through the property. "She has talent," Robert commented, his face softening as he watched his daughter. "Sarah played the piano, you know." Emily nodded. "She gave lessons to supplement her income, before working at the construction company. Lily must have inherited that from her. Olivia cleared her throat, calling attention back to urgent matters. There's more. We found records of recent bank transfers, large amounts being moved by shell companies. Barbara is gathering resources for something big. What kind of resources? Emily asked, feeling a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain climate. The kind that can buy a lot of important people, Olivia replied. She's aiming not just at the company, but at the entire Maxwell family reputation. She wants to destroy the whole legacy. Robert ran his hands over his face, clearly disturbed. And to think we grew up together, during summer vacations in that house, and she was like a sister to me. Emily gently touched his arm. You had no way of knowing. But I should have questioned more, he responded. When my father removed Uncle Michael, I was too young to understand. I accepted the official version like everyone else. I never sought to know her side. Lily, who had grown tired of the piano, came running to them. Dad, there's a jungle gym outside. Will you push me? The contrast between Lily's innocence and the gravity of the situation was poignant. Robert forced a smile, picking up his daughter. Of course, Princess, but just for a little while. It's getting cold. As father and daughter headed to the playground, Olivia showed more documents to Emily. Sarah didn't just keep evidence of corruption, she explained. She gathered evidence about the original case from 30 years ago. She was trying to understand the whole story. That's why Barbara considered her a threat, Emily concluded. Sarah was about to expose not just the present, but also the past. One of the police officers providing security for the location approached quickly. Miss Olivia, we intercepted suspicious movement 5 miles from here. A black van was seen circling the area. Olivia immediately went into alert mode. Call everyone inside, now. Emily ran to the playground, her heart racing. Robert was already returning with Lily, having noticed the agent's movement. Inside the house, while the police officers took strategic positions, Lily looked confused at the tense adults. Mommy, why is everyone so serious? Emily exchanged a look with Robert before answering. Everything's fine, sweetie. How about you show your dad that board game we brought? As Lily went upstairs to get the game, Olivia checked the security cameras installed around the property. It might be nothing, she said, but her tone wasn't convincing. But Barbara has always been meticulous in her plans. If she discovered this place, how could she? Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. Robert, who was observing the camera images over Olivia's shoulder, suddenly stiffened. The photo album, he whispered. At the beach house, there was an old photo of this region. Barbara was in it. This was one of the properties that the family used to visit in the winter. The sound of Lily coming down the stairs with the game in her hands broke the tense silence. Her innocent smile contrasted dramatically with the charged atmosphere in the room. I found it. Who wants to play Monopoly? Night fell over the ranch, bringing with it a dense fog that seemed to swallow the exterior lights. Olivia had reinforced security at all strategic points, but the tension was palpable. In the living room, Lily had fallen asleep on the couch during the Monopoly game, surrounded by colorful play money. She's so much like Sarah when she sleeps, Emily commented softly, adjusting the blanket over her daughter. The same way of furrowing her brow as if she's solving problems even in her dreams. Robert, sitting near the fireplace, observed the scene with a mixture of love and concern. Sarah was always like that since she was little, determined, perceptive. Now I understand why she managed to discover so much. Olivia entered the room silently, her laptop in hand. Folks, we need to talk. I just decrypted more files from Sarah's flash drive. Emily and Robert approached, leaving Lily sleeping peacefully. What did you find? Emily asked, noticing Olivia's grave expression. Letters, she replied, turning the screen so they could see. Correspondence between Michael Maxwell and Robert's father for years. Even after the scandal, they maintained secret contact. Robert leaned forward, his eyes quickly scanning the digitized lines. This doesn't make sense. My father always said that Uncle Michael had betrayed him, that he never... It was all a facade, Olivia explained. Your father needed someone to take the blame publicly, but behind the scenes they continued working together. Michael received a generous allowance to keep quiet. And Barbara, Emily questioned, did she know about this? Not initially, but when she found out, Olivia hesitated. She found the letters after her father's death 5 years ago. That's when she started meticulously planning her revenge. A noise from outside made everyone freeze. One of the agents quickly entered the room. "Miss Olivia, we detected movement at the north fence. The cameras recorded figures moving in the mist." Emily instinctively moved closer to Lily, while Robert stood up, tense. "How many?" "At least 3 people," the agent replied. "We're monitoring, but with this fog..." Olivia closed her laptop, assuming a professional posture. "Let's move everyone to the safe room in the basement, now." Robert gently picked up Lily, trying not to wake her. The girl just snuggled closer, murmuring something in her sleep. On the way to the basement, they passed through the kitchen. Emily stopped abruptly, her eyes fixed on the window. "Wait," she whispered. "There's something..." Through the foggy glass, a female figure stood out in the mist. It wasn't Barbara. She was younger, more delicate. For an insane moment, Emily thought she was seeing Sarah. "It's Marina," Olivia exclaimed in a low voice. "Victor's former executive assistant. She worked with Sarah." Robert, still holding Lily, frowned. "What is she doing here?" "She's signaling something," Emily observed, trying to interpret the woman's gestures. Olivia quickly typed something on her cell phone. Seconds later, the phone vibrated with a message. "It's a trap," she read, her voice tense. "Marina is warning us. Barbara isn't here. She's on her way to the construction company. She's going to expose all the documents in a press conference at 6 a.m. "But that's good, isn't it?" Emily asked. "The evidence against Victor..." "It's not just against Victor," Robert completed, understanding. "It's against the entire Maxwell family, including innocent people. And when the press finds out about Lily, her life will never be the same," Emily concluded, looking at her sleeping daughter. A new movement outside caught their attention. Marina had disappeared into the mist, but other shadows were moving on the grounds. "Those are Barbara's men," Olivia explained. "They're here to keep us busy while she executes the last part of her plan." "We need to stop her," Robert said with determination. "No," Emily intervened. "We need to protect Lily. That's what Sarah always wanted." The sound of breaking branches outside grew closer. Olivia quickly coordinated the agents via radio while guiding everyone to the basement. "There's a secret passage here," she explained, revealing a camouflaged door. "It leads to a secondary road where we have a car waiting. Emily, you and Lily will go with 2 agents. Robert and I will go to the construction company." "No," Emily surprised everyone. "We'll all go together. Lily needs both parents now. And besides..." She hesitated, taking something from her bag. "There's something in Sarah's letters that you need to see, something that could change everything." The noise of footsteps upstairs grew more intense. Time was running out. "What is it?" Robert asked, anxious. Emily unfolded an old letter, her hands trembling slightly. Sarah discovered something about Barbara's father, something that even she didn't know. And if it's true, there's much more at stake than simple revenge. The interior of the car was silent as they cut through the pre-dawn mist. Lily continued sleeping, now on Emily's lap in the back seat, while Robert drove with Olivia beside him, navigating the deserted roads. The 2 FBI agents followed them in another vehicle. "The letter," Olivia broke the silence. "What did Sarah discover about Michael Maxwell?" Emily took out the now yellowed paper from the envelope, her hands trembling slightly under the dim light of her cell phone. "Michael wasn't just a dishonest executive," she began to read. "He was investigating something much bigger within the company, something that involved an international group, powerful people who were using the construction company to..." "To what?" Robert asked, his voice tense. "To launder money," Emily continued. "Millions in inflated contracts, ghost projects. Michael discovered everything and threatened to expose it. That's when your father, Robert, offered a deal. Michael would take the blame for the minor embezzlement, protecting the company from the bigger scandal in exchange for protection for his family." Olivia was typing furiously on her laptop. "This explains the monthly transfers. It wasn't just to buy Michael's silence, it was to protect him." "But something went wrong," Emily continued reading. "Michael started gathering evidence, planning, To expose everything anyway. That's when he had the accident, Robert completed, his voice choked. I was 15. I remember Barbara's despair at the funeral. It wasn't an accident, Emily revealed, turning the page. Sarah found records, conversations. Michael was silenced, and Barbara somehow discovered the truth. The car made a sharp turn, revealing the lights of Boston in the distance. The sky was beginning to lighten slightly. There were only a few hours left until the press conference. There's more, Emily continued. Michael left a letter for Barbara which Sarah found in the company's old files. He reveals that all the embezzled money, everything he managed to gather over the years, is in a fund in Lily's name. What? Robert almost lost control of the car. Michael knew it wasn't safe to leave the money to Barbara. It would draw too much attention. So he created a secret fund, which could only be accessed by his next legitimate Maxwell heir. At the time, he didn't know it would be Lily. That's why Barbara became obsessed when she found out about Sarah's pregnancy, Olivia concluded. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about recovering what she considers her inheritance. Lily stirred in her sleep, murmuring something about rainbows. Emily hugged her tighter, thinking about how her little girl carried unknowingly the weight of so many secrets. Sarah discovered all of this while working at the company, Emily continued. She tried to warn you, Robert, but Victor and Barbara already had too much control over everything. So she did the only thing she could. She protected Lily, hiding her from everyone who might use her existence as a weapon. Olivia's phone rang, breaking the moment. It's the agent, she informed. Victor is cooperating. He provided all the documents about the company's current operations, but what? Barbara disappeared from the police station. Somehow, she managed to escape. And she took a folder of documents with her. Robert gripped the steering wheel tightly. She's going to expose everything. Not just the recent crimes, but the entire family history, all the people involved. It's not just that, Emily interrupted, reaching the end of the letter. Sarah left a warning. Barbara doesn't just want exposure. She wants Lily to publicly claim her inheritance. She wants to use the girl as living proof of the Maxwells' corruption. And if that happens, Olivia began. Her life will be ruined forever, Emily completed. Every time someone searches her name, they'll find scandals, crimes, tragedies. Robert took an exit from the highway, the city buildings getting closer. I won't allow her to do this to our daughter. It's not that simple, Olivia warned. Barbara has support from powerful people who were also harmed by the Maxwell family over the years. She organized everything as a big public exposure. Lily woke up slowly, rubbing her eyes. Mommy, where are we going? Emily exchanged a significant look with Robert through the rearview mirror before answering. We're going to meet someone who really needs help, sweetie. Like you always say we should help people? Lily asked innocently. Yes, my love. Sometimes people do wrong things because they're hurt inside, and they need someone to help them find their way back. The sun was beginning to rise when they spotted the Maxwell construction building. Several press cars were already parked in front, reporters beginning to position themselves. She must already be inside, Olivia commented, checking the security, cameras on her laptop. In the main auditorium, Robert parked the car on a side street. How are we going to get in? Emily looked at the letter in her hands, then at Lily, who was curiously observing the movement of the awakening city. I have an idea, she finally said, but you need to trust me. Completely. The auditorium of Maxwell Construction was almost ready for the press conference. Barbara personally supervised the organization of folders with documents, her pale face showing the fatigue of sleepless nights, but her eyes shone with a feverish determination. Ms. Maxwell? One of the security guards approached discreetly. They're here. Barbara turned, not seeming surprised. Let them in. All of them. The auditorium doors opened, revealing Emily, Robert, and Olivia. Lily was between them, firmly holding her parents' hands. The girl looked curiously at all the filming equipment and at the reporters who were beginning to arrive. I knew you'd come, Barbara said, her voice surprisingly soft. Especially you, Lily. I'll finally meet my great niece. Emily stepped forward, instinctively protecting Lily. It doesn't have to be this way, Barbara. We can still resolve this another way. Another way? Barbara laughed humorlessly. Like your sister tried to resolve it? Sarah thought she could protect everyone, didn't she? Keep secrets, hide the truth. Look where that got her. Robert moved, tense. Barbara, I'm sorry for what happened to your father. If you had known, she interrupted. Him. You were too young, Robert. The real culprit was your father. He let my father take the blame, then made sure he could never speak the truth. Olivia, who had been discreetly monitoring her cell phone, stepped forward. We know everything, Barbara, about the secret fund, about the evidence Michael gathered. Sarah discovered the truth. Barbara paused for a moment, something in her eyes, wavering. Sarah, she was different. She tried to help me, you know. When she discovered everything, she came to me. But I was too blinded by the desire for revenge to listen. Lily, who had been observing silently, gently let go of her parents' hands and took a step towards Barbara. You knew my Aunt Sarah? She asked with the typical innocence of children. Barbara seemed disarmed by the simple question. Yes, little one, she was a very special person. She always said that forgiving is stronger than fighting, Lily continued. When I got mad at my friends at school, she taught me that. Emily felt tears in her eyes hearing her daughter's words. Sarah remained, present, her wisdom echoing through Lily. The money in the fund, Robert said softly. My Uncle Michael didn't leave it to be used as revenge. He left it to protect the family's future. And Lily is that family, Emily completed. Not just her legal heir, but the person who can finally unite all the broken pieces of this story. Barbara looked at the documents in her hands, then at the cameras being prepared, and finally at Lily. The girl smiled at her without fear or judgment. You know what else Aunt Sarah taught me? Lily asked, taking another step towards Barbara. That sometimes the angriest people are the ones who need a hug the most. Something seemed to break inside Barbara. The folders slipped from her hands, scattering papers across the floor. Her shoulders began to shake. I just wanted justice, she whispered. For my father, for everything we lost. And you'll have it, Olivia assured, but not this way. Not by destroying an innocent child's future. Emily approached, picking up one of the folders from the floor. Sarah left one last gift for you, Barbara. In the letters, she found evidence that your father was trying to protect much more than money. He discovered who was really behind all the schemes. The real criminals, Robert completed. The people who used our family, who manipulated all of us for years. Barbara looked at Emily, then at Lily, who was still smiling at her. Slowly, her hands trembling, she took a flash drive from her pocket. Here's everything, she said. All the evidence, all the names. Not just about the Maxwell family, but about the entire international scheme. This is what my father had discovered. This is why... The noise of doors opening interrupted her speech. Agent Thompson entered with his team, followed by a handcuffed Victor. It's time, Olivia said softly, to tell the true story. Lily, in a move that surprised everyone, approached Barbara and took her hand. Shall we tell it together? She asked. Aunt Sarah would like that. A single tear ran down Barbara's face as she gently squeezed Lily's hand. Outside, the sun finally broke through the clouds, illuminating the auditorium through the large windows. The truth would finally be revealed, but not as a weapon of destruction. It would be revealed as Sarah had always wanted, as a path to healing, to reconciliation, to true justice. 6 months had passed since that morning in the Maxwell Construction Auditorium. Emily's backyard was decorated with colorful balloons and a banner that read, Happy Birthday, Lily, 8 years old. The aroma of freshly made chocolate truffles filled the air, mixing with the laughter of children running around the yard. Emily watched her daughter playing with her school friends, her heart overflowing with joy. Lily wore a light blue dress. That matched her eyes, the same eyes as Robert, who was now helping to distribute sweets among the children. I still wonder how she managed to change everything, Olivia commented, approaching with 2 glasses of lemonade. Lily has a special gift. Emily smiled, accepting the drink. Sarah always said that children see the truth that adults try to complicate. The investigation that followed the revelation of the documents had exposed the entire international scheme that used the construction company as a facade. Dozens of people were indicted, but the Maxwell family, thanks to the evidence left by Michael and Sarah, managed to prove that they had been manipulated and used by greater forces. "How's Barbara?" Emily asked, watching Robert lift Lily into the air, making her squeal with delight. "Better," Olivia replied. "The therapy is helping a lot, and the volunteer work with children, it seems she's finally found a purpose greater than revenge." The fund that Michael had left for Lily was transformed into a charitable foundation, focused on education and protection of vulnerable children. Barbara, surprising everyone, became one of the main coordinators of the project. "Aunt Emily!" the voice of one of the children called out. "Lily wants to show you something." In the center of the yard, Lily sat at the portable piano that Robert had bought. Her small fingers began to play a melody that made Emily freeze. It was Sarah's favorite song. "She's been practicing secretly," Robert explained, emotional. "She wanted to make a surprise." The soft notes floated through the yard, bringing tears to Emily's eyes. It was as if Sarah was there, smiling, approving every moment. A car parked in front of the house. Barbara got out, carrying a present and looking hesitant. Lily, seeing her, interrupted the music and ran in her direction. "Aunt Barbara, you came!" Barbara's face lit up with the girl's spontaneous hug. There was no longer that shadow of bitterness in her eyes, only a serenity that came from forgiveness and acceptance. "I brought something special," she said, handing the package to Lily. Inside was an album of old photographs, carefully restored. "These are photos of your grandfather, Michael," Barbara explained softly. "And of your Aunt Sarah, too. I thought you'd like to know more about your family." Lily flipped through the album with reverence, her eyes shining as she recognized familiar features in the faces in the photos. Robert approached, putting an arm around Emily's shoulders. "Family," he murmured. "Sarah always knew this day would come. That's why she left all those clues, all those paths to the truth." "She knew Lily would be the key," Emily agreed. "Not the money, not the revenge, but the love of a child who didn't know the meaning of grudges." The sky was beginning to take on orange hues as guests started to leave. Lily, exhausted but happy, fell asleep on the living room couch, the photo album still in her lap. "You know what else we found in the old documents?" Olivia commented quietly as she helped collect the last cups from the yard. "Michael had a diary. In it, he wrote that his greatest regret wasn't losing the money or position, but allowing bitterness to poison his daughter's heart." "And now?" Emily asked. "Now she's healing," Robert replied, observing Barbara, who still remained in the yard, looking at the stars that were beginning to appear. "We all are." A gentle breeze rustled the living room curtains, bringing the scent of flowers from the garden. On the wall, a recent photo showed Lily between Emily and Robert, with Barbara beside them, all smiling. Next to this, an old photo of Sarah seemed to smile in approval. "Mommy," Lily murmured sleepily from the couch, "I think I saw a rainbow today." Emily approached, adjusting the blanket over her daughter. "Really? But it didn't rain today, sweetie." "Not that kind of rainbow," Lily replied, her blue eyes half closed with sleep. "The kind Aunt Sarah talked about, the one that appears after all the storms have passed." Emily kissed her daughter's forehead, feeling Robert approach and wrap the two in an embrace. Outside, the stars shone ever more intensely, like small beacons guiding the way to a peaceful future. The truth had finally found its voice, not through exposure and revenge, but through the love and forgiveness of a child who unknowingly had healed the wounds of generations.